Hey, Slop Dog! The Brainiacs are ready!
And ready they are. Welcome into Leather Brains. As always, your host, Slap Dog. Today, we have a very, very fun-filled episode. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things here. The meat of the episode, of course, is going to be going over quarterbacks. We're going to have a very in-depth fantasy football conversation today regarding a couple quarterbacks that we have selected, as well as quarterbacks that the Twitter community has selected. We put out a poll and asked the Brainiacs, hey, what do you guys want to hear? What quarterbacks do you want us to talk about today, as far as should we buy them? Should we sell them? Should we just get them off the roster because they're clogging it up? So we're going to be talking about that today. We have some conversations regarding some of the young running backs that are currently injured in their health. We're going to talk about some Joey B conversation, the Iceman himself, and his potential kindness to his teammates. And then we're going to wrap this thing up with questions submitted by the Brainiacs, by you guys. And I'm not alone. I can't do this show alone. And I have two very wonderful, handsome young men with me here today. I have Yeti as well as Alan. Gentlemen, how are we doing? How's it hanging? How have you guys been?
Hanging.
How's it hanging?
How's it hanging? Well,
you know,
is it like a little to the right?
Short and shriveled and always to the left.
Damn. Things you hate to see. Things you hate to see.
What's up, man? It's been a minute.
Alan, we haven't seen you in a while. Yeti, you were here last week, of course.
Yeah.
Alan, what's up with you? How's things?
Things are good, man. Winding down. We were done with soccer practice. We're winding down on dance practice.
Dad life.
Works crazy. Yeah, no. I practiced before I came down here. I'm doing a daddy-daughter dance this Saturday. At a recital.
I got some questions about this. Is it like really choreographed, or is it pretty easy? Like, was it hard for you to figure out all the moves and stuff you got to be doing?
I mean, if you've ever learned any of those wedding dances, pretty much you could do this. Like, it's just very repetitive type dancing. But the interesting part, the way it's structured, is all the dads do a choreographed dance, and then
without the daughters.
Without the daughters.
Oh man.
But it's lines of dads, and everybody gets a turn to be at the very front. Well, from going to the first to second practice, the lady that runs it was like, okay, guys, now when we switch lines, everybody's going to have to do the gritty to get to their next spot.
Oh, geez.
So now in between the dancing, all these dads are doing the gritty, and I'm younger.
Is this a teenage dance? Like, is this, I just want to know the dance teacher. Is this like a teenager?
No, she's actually, Yeti's sister, my cousin, she went there when she was little. So this lady's been teaching forever.
Gotcha.
So it's great, but so I'm having to do that too. So just the busy part of life,
So are you gonna hit him with the Jefferson gritty, or what are we gonna see out there?
I'm doing the one arm down and then kind of swinging the right arm, kind of swiping my shoes. That's how I'm doing it.
Will your wife be able to provide us with a recording of this?
It actually will be recorded, and there's actually a live stream that Yeti, I'm going to be adding a lot of the family to, so they can all watch it.
So I'll screen.
I think we should get it, and then I'll cut up a clip, and we'll put you and Justin Jefferson and Gesicki all in there.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll rate which one did the best gritty.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen myself do it yet, so that'll be a shock to me as well.
Well, I want to see this, so I'm excited for it, and we're excited to have you here today. As you guys know, I just talked about what we're going to be talking about today. So are we ready to just go ahead and get down to business?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, baby.
Let's get down to business.
First piece of news. Broncos head coach Sean Payton. He said Saturday that he expects running back Javonte Williams to be ready for the start of training camp. He stated his rehab is going well, and there's a good chance that he's ready, so hopefully he will not start on the PUP list. For those that do not know and sleep under a rock, Javonte tore his ACL last year. So, excited about this? Is this something that we should stay optimistic for, that there is an actual reality that this could be the case?
Man, he didn't just tear his ACL. He tore his LCL. He tore a meniscus. Like, he shredded his knee. And I have a hard time believing that. Sure, he might be available for training camp, but he's probably going to be doing like rehab shit, right? He's probably going to be running in straight lines. But as far as like lateral movement, I think that knee it's going to take a while for him to feel fully right. And we traditionally see this with running backs who are coming off of regular ACL injuries, right? Usually takes them at least a year after to finally hit their full stride. We saw it with Saquon Barkley this past year. And with Javante's injury, LCLs controls lateral, meniscus lateral as well. He's not going to be as shifty as he once was. You know, it's going to take time. And I honestly, for Javante, like we'll talk about him later on in the year, but right now, I don't expect him to do anything crazy fantasy wise this year. I think it's kind of going to be like a red shirt year, like
Maybe
medical
like a
red shirt year.
You think kind of would it be fair to say kind of like a J.K. Dobbins-esque year for him?
I think that's a great comparison because J.K. is kind of in the same spot Javante is. J.K. completely fucked his knee as well. And we saw what he looked like when he tried to come back too soon last year.
Yeah.
He looked really gimpy. He looked like he was banged up still. Like, I think he came back too soon. And hopefully Javante's team is like, hey, slow down and like protect your future or else you might do more damage.
Yeah, I think the thing with JK was I noticed when you talk about the contrast was his inability to like break away. Like he just didn't have it. You could see like he could see the hole. He went through, but then that breakaway speed to get you 6 wasn't quite there. The one thing with these injuries that like it's the mental part. Like how quickly is Javante going to trust his knee again? And you don't know what that's going to look like for him. So there's a lot of variables just beyond like science in him fixing his knee is how quickly is he going to trust it again and do all the things he needs to do with it. So I agree. While this is promising and it's good, I would not be banking on anything productive from him, at least for the first 5-6 weeks while he's figuring everything out and getting back to game speed.
Okay, well, let's talk about Breece Hall. He was rumored that he was potentially be available week 1 per GM Joe Douglas. I don't believe he also has a knee injury. I don't believe his was nearly as severe as Javante, but we still think there's a little bit more smoke there that the GM's putting out than what reality might be.
Well, we're going to talk about it in a second with the schedule. What's
Okay.
interesting is the Jets, who they have to play
Yeah.
and who they start out with. And they need to, who knows how long this shelf life is with Rodgers. They're going to have to show production quickly. And I just worry he's also going to be somebody that might get rushed back. But, if he's there, he's ready to go. They're going to need him, and they're going to need him right away.
Well, the Jets, I mean, their schedule, as you mentioned, it's pretty tough out of the gate. Their very first opponent is Buffalo, and then they play the Cowboys, the Patriots, the Chiefs, Broncos, and Eagles. That's not an easy schedule to begin the season. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to find out pretty damn quick that he might want to retire after this year, given how difficult the Jets have it. I mean, that is not a good look for the Jets and their new star quarterback. So I don't see Breece. I think they play it safe. I think that's probably the best case scenario for the Jets. I think they want to get him back on the field, but I wouldn't want to play any of those. I think there's a potential they could be like their record could be very different than it was at the beginning of last year, given this very difficult couple matchups to start out the season.
I think it's very possible that the Jets start the season 1-5 or 2-4. Like with those teams that you just listed off, I have a hard time picturing them beating Buffalo, Dallas, the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Eagles all out of the gate. Denver, I could see them beating. Maybe New England too, just because New England's so up and down. But any divisional game, especially early, is tough. So I would not be surprised with them being under 500 to start.
I'm like so sneaky interested in that Buffalo game because I think everybody thinks it's a foregone conclusion. Like Buffalo is just they're the better team, and on paper and his over the last couple of years, obviously, yeah. I just wonder how that loss they had to end the year against the Bengals at home, the way they lost, just the mentality of it all. Like it's easy when you're very close to winning and you're like motivated to come back. It's a little different when you get just like your dick kicked in at home, and now you got to come back and you got a motivated Jets team who they're not bad.
No, I have
They
good
weren't a bad
defense
team
too.
last year. They're good, and so that'll be interesting to see how it starts. Because I think if it goes the other way for Buffalo loses that game, you're going to see the panic button. If the Jets lose, you'll start to see the panic button. So either way, that first game, somebody's has their finger on the panic button right away.
It's week one. I don't think I hope they don't hit the panic button, especially fans. Like, that's the other thing too. And I think you're right. I think a lot of fans for whatever team would lose that game is they're going to hit the panic button week one. It's like, calm down. These are two actually pretty good teams. Let's just ride. Let's ride, as Russell Wilson would say. Let's ride. Brock Purdy. Let's talk about him. Niners head coach Kyle Shanahan says that the team expects to have Purdy back from his right elbow injury by training camp. There's a lot of talk going on, fellas. There's a lot of these GMs and head coaches out there, and they're saying everybody's going to be back and okay. I don't know if I'm buying this. I really don't.
May.
Well, I know. Like, that's exactly a great point. Like, it's easy to say right now, training camp's not for a few more months. And, like, I don't think he's going to be back by then.
There's no
I
way.
really don't.
There's no way.
There's
like,
no
he
way.
might be there physically.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
this
no,
is
like,
the
he'll be
game.
watching and hanging out and supporting the
He'll
team, but
be
I don't.
there.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be throwing balls, at least not with his right hand.
You know, we've been hearing a lot about Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold, but we haven't heard a lot about Trey Lance from
That's a good point.
anybody in the 49ers front offense. And I think that says something.
Here's a hypothesis. Here's
Blows.
something this did not even cross my mind. What if? I know that they've talked about trading Trey Lance, which I'm starting to be comfortable with it. I'm starting to come around to the fact that maybe they do. What if he goes somewhere like the Saints? What if he goes somewhere like the Jets, where you have these quarterbacks who you don't need Trey Lance right away, right? And I'm not saying that Derek Carr is anything great, but you throw him back behind him because he's going to be cheap. You know, whatever team buys him, they're not going to pay 3 first-round picks like the 49ers did, right? So at any rate, they're getting a discount. What if he goes behind an Aaron Rodgers and he hangs out with him for a year or two? Because as we know, and I know we don't want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, but we know the game that he plays where every year he says, I'm going to retire, I'm going to be out. What if he really does? Like, the Jets are going to need a quarterback. And if they do as well as we think that they will, they're not going to have the draft capital to do it. So, like, what if he does go somewhere like the Jets or the Saints who need help everywhere? They're going to get him at a discount, and they could play the what if game with Trey Lance. Like, do you guys hate that idea at all?
I think after last year, we were on opposite sides of this fence. I wanted to move on from Trey Lance. You wanted to see it through, and now I want to see Trey Lance through, and you're ready to move on. Something happened in the universe. I don't know what it is. I don't think they should trade him. Like, I don't know.
The only reason I don't
you have 1.5 quarterbacks on your roster right now. You have 1.5 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And that was, do you agree with that, Yeti? Is that kind of where you were going to go?
No, I think they hold on to Trey Lance until like midway through the season, because we have the Lions who have Goff, we have the Seahawks who have Geno, and then Vikings have Kirko. Those 3 guys are on expiring contracts basically. And let's say they underperform through the first 5-6 weeks. I think we start seeing smoke around Trey Lance, trade rumors come up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get traded later in the season, when his value could potentially be up higher.
Yeah, he'll be healthy again too. You know, why sell?
He'll be healthy. Right now, who knows what his value truly is, because people are like, yeah, we're fine with their quarterbacks. It is what it is.
I was going to ask, what's the value? What are teams what do the 49ers actually hope? Is what the 49ers could get from him worth more than potentially developing him? That's what I'm interested to see what the 49ers think. Like,
I think the only thing that the only hesitation from the 49ers is just, we saw what happened when they had a depleted quarterback room. And so, like, that I think is partially where I could see hesitation, which is certainly understandable. I don't think Kyle Juszczyk is probably the quarterback of your future, but he was going to be the guy. So yeah, I think that's a concern for them that they're going to have to work through. But I think that they could probably still squeeze some value out of him once he is healthy. And like Yeti mentioned, like, there is some guys who we don't know. We don't know what the future is going to look like. And for the who's going to be the gunslinger for each of these teams. And you have a quarterback who potentially could fill that role and be at a much more of a discount than what they'd potentially have to pay to draft someone. So we'll see what happens with him. I was thinking about it the other day, and I thought that was a really good thought experiment. So I figured I'd bring it up to you guys and see what you thought. But while we're talking about quarterbacks, let's talk about Mr. Joey Ice himself, Joe Burrow. Guys, he still is on his rookie contract, as we know. And some news has come out, and he has said that he is keeping his teammates in mind amid talks with the team. So do we see Joey Ice take a little bit of a discount in order to keep the dream team alive?
I get so fucking tired of this conversation and like the fodder amongst fans of like, it's like the one time of the year that the fans actually give a shit about like what contracts and the size that people are signing when it comes.
Yeah, we don't
to
have
this.
anything else to talk about.
No, but from the Bengals' point of view, they're ultra sensitive. Obviously, when people were kicking the tires on T. Higgins and you had their GM come out and say, "Get your own T. Higgins. We're going to keep him." I think obviously he's going to take a deal. Why would you not want to keep two like all-pro wide receivers around you? Obviously, he's not dumb. But the other thing is the salary cap's going to keep going up, as we see. The deals are going to keep getting bigger and bigger. He's going to sign a big deal, but it's not going to really matter, as we've said, because the salary cap doesn't exist.
Yeah, it
doesn't exist. So it's a big nothing. Yes, I think he's going to take quote unquote less, but that he's still probably going to be the highest paid quarterback when he signs it. It's not like he's going to be
You
mid-level.
think he will break the...
Oh, yeah. Yep. 100%. But it's on the backdrop of it's going to be spread out. The salary cap's going to go up. It's going to be a lot of deferred money. He's probably going to take 2 or 3 years where he's not hitting the cap as hard. And so that will be the friendliness of it, not the inking of him signing the biggest quarterback deal.
Mm-hmm.
In
We
NFL.
also saw someone like Tom Brady didn't ask, not that he wasn't getting paid, don't get me wrong, but you would see him not get paid exorbitant amounts of money because he was chasing rings. Like
Towards the end of his career, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
For the prime of his career, that dude was making bank. Alan,
yeah.
to your point about the salary cap, Mahomes signed a $450 million contract, 2 years ago? And that was like, holy shit, $450 million. But now he is the 6th highest paid quarterback. So that deal is looking amazing right now.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep on seeing this process repeat itself.
That's what I'm saying. Like the statement of he's keeping his teammates in mind. Well, no shit, because the team also wants to keep his teammates in mind. They're not stupid either. Like they want to keep them too. I just think it's just like, this like virtue signaling type. Like, look at me, I'm doing so well. It's going to be the biggest contract. It's going to be the biggest quarterback contract in NFL history. That's what it's going to be.
Talking about contracts, Saquon Barkley still has not signed his franchise tag. It's roughly, I want to say, right around $10.1 million. So the turmoil for the Giants is continuing with their star running back. I don't know. I don't know where you go from here, because and I say this because there are still some big name running backs that are still free agents right now. So I don't want to sit here and say that Saquon Barkley is not one of the best running backs in the league, because he is certainly one of those top tier talents. But what are you expecting? Like, if you're Saquon Barkley, what are you expecting? Because you still have Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, who I think a lot of people are forgetting about, playoff Lenny, and Zeke are all still 3 like certainly usable running backs. And I don't want to sit here and say that they're the same caliber as Saquon Barkley, because they're not. But he wants a long-term contract, kind of, and I don't know what the exact numbers are. But we saw what happened when the Cowboys finally gave in and gave Zeke a shit ton of money. I don't know what he expects. And I don't know, given the running back market right now, I don't know if there's a lot he can sit there and demand of this organization. I mean, is that fair to say for you guys, or what do you think?
Well, you also have to consider the fact that Jacobs and Pollard, they haven't signed their franchise tags either. And they have until the middle of July to make a deal with their teams. If they don't sign a deal with their teams, they will be quote unquote forced to play under that franchise tag. But that's where the running backs can say, fuck off, like I'm holding out, and they won't report to training camp. So I think right now, running backs are in this situation. Barkley saying, I'm not signing my tag or whatever. It's May. Guys are reporting for off-season training. he's a veteran at this point. Like, I wouldn't want to fucking report to offseason training either. Like, I'm going to buy my time and then I'll report to training camp whenever I want to. Yeah, I'm going to relax, enjoy my recovery. But I did see a report for Saquon that the contract negotiations right now are more about the years. He's not worried about the money as much. It's about the years, because they're offering 3 years. He wants 4 years. So he has that extra year of protection, basically, because at that point, he'll be a 30-year-old running back. We know how running backs age, and he just wants to secure that last big contract.
Do you think if hypothetically he holds out and he, I don't want to say walks, but he holds out, like, is there a team that you think would be willing to pay like a 4-year deal, given the running back market right now? Like, I don't know if that's going to happen. Like, I don't know if that's a thing.
A couple things happened for Barkley that I think the timing didn't quite work out, because in season, I think they're offering him like 12, 13 million per year, and the years might not have been there. But what also hurt him was his production plateaued or fell a little bit as the season went on. And then Daniel Jones started playing well, and then he got paid. So a couple things didn't work in his favor. The Giants also like pulled all of those offers that they had previously had given him. They're just like, fine, you don't want to take 13 per year, fuck off. We'll do something else later. And now he's staring at 10 million with the franchise tag. I don't think he wants to sign, obviously he doesn't want that either. So there's definitely some sort of impact. I think, it'll get done. Obviously the Giants want to keep him. He's kind of somewhat the face. Yeah, he's a pretty face of that offense. You don't want Daniel Jones to be the face. So there's a little bit of posturing, I think, from both sides. One side feels like, F you didn't want to sign this deal back then. He's obviously like, well, damn it, I deserve the years, like Yeti was saying. So kind of spot on. I think it'll get done. They have months to figure it out, but little concerning when you hear reports that they're not even close. But I think, they'll figure it out quickly.
Sorry, Hunter. I was going to say, I think the 3 running backs, Jacobs, Pollard, and Barkley, they probably have guns pointed at each other. Like, who's going to sign a deal first? Because they want to see who sets the market. Jacobs, he's going to get $13 million. I want $13.5 million. Something like that.
Right.
We see that all the time with wide receivers.
Okay, quick game. Especially. You get to pick one of those running backs to sign to a long-term deal. Which one of the 3 you just mentioned, Yeti? Which one do you want to sign?
Okay, if we're going to play this game, are we saying like a 4-year deal for all 3 of them?
Yeah, like the deal's all the same. Like, we're like, which one do you want to sign long term? Like, which running back do you feel like, okay, I'm gonna ride with this guy longer?
As somebody who has a horse in the race, I'd have to go Jacobs. But I could understand your point for Pollard. Pollard would be my second choice if I had to pick.
Yeah, I don't want to sign any of them to a long-term deal. Because as we're seeing, if I had to, I'd probably take Barkley solely because of he is the team. He has been the team for the last couple of years while they've not had any wide receivers. Like, I think he's been their wide receiver. He's been their running back. He's been their utility player. He's gotten hurt a little bit, but I'd probably have to take Barkley.
That's interesting. Interesting, because I would take Pollard more so because I feel like the miles are low.
Like that's my Pollard would be.
That's like one of my main reasons is like, the miles are low. Like, I'll just keep him. But obviously he's unproven. Like, I think I know what I'm getting from Jacobs. I know what I'm getting from Saquon, which is funny because in my mind, I'm not thinking about that. And so I wonder how these teams are also thinking about that.
Saquon's a good looking dude. So if I'm going to sign for my team, I'd at least like to have like he's making me money on jerseys.
Yeah. They're all not ugly.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what Tony Pollard.
That's a different episode.
That's off the air. That's some
we'll talk about that
stuff. Former Falcons and Colts quarterback Sir Matthew Ryan is becoming an analyst at CBS. Dude, that guy's got a big head. I don't know how they're going to get a camera on him.
Is he Sir Matthew?
I just put that in there.
Okay,
I don't think he's been knighted. I don't think he's been knighted. I don't think he deserves to be knighted.
No, probably not.
He's got a big head. I don't like that. I want Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen's probably my favorite analyst. And when Tom Brady comes in, he's gonna throw Greg Olsen to the streets, and that really pisses me off because he's my favorite.
What? Okay, so which players, either playing right now or former players, would you like to see in a broadcast booth?
JJ Watt. I love that man, and I would fucking marry him.
So JJ Watt in the booth with whom? Like, I'm thinking of like pure entertainment. Like, I'd like to see Gronk and Kelsey like call a game.
Oh yeah.
No, I love RG3. RG3 like currently is probably one of like the most fun like NFL analysts besides us, of course.
True.
Gronk, I don't care for Gronk a whole lot. I'm just gonna say
really?
it.
Oh, I
I don't hate the guy, but he kind of just he seems like he's kind of got to stick up his ass. Yeah, you're muted, my friend.
Oh, hello guys. Sorry. I was gonna say Gronk is funny, but I can only stand that voice for a little bit. If I had to sit
I love
for
it.
3 hours, I might just
I
like turn
love
off the sound like I do with Doris Bird.
If you let the Kelsey brothers do it, I think that'd be fun.
Kelsey brothers are good. I like Jason Kelsey.
I like Jason
honestly
a lot.
I think he's going to be a coach when he's done. I think he's
I hope
really
so.
good, but I would also love to just listen to him talk about a game because I think that would be fun. He's super smart.
He is. I'd follow that man to the gates of hell. And I'm not even an Eagles fan.
Yeah, well, same. I do love him. Matt Ryan does not move the needle for me. I don't feel like I'm going to turn into more. I'm not going to tune into more CBS games because Matt Ryan's there. Like, I'm not like, guys, hold on. Matt Ryan's about to be on the TV.
If
Kids,
you put
everyone,
Matt Ryan
shut up.
and Tony Romo in a booth together,
Oh god.
I'm gonna mute the TV and I would rather listen to that like Baby Shark song for 4 hours and watch football than listen to those two fucking talk. I'm just gonna say.
Matt. I don't know, Matt. Oh, this could be it.
We're probably gonna be getting a lot of that here in Nebraska with Chiefs games, Alan. So sorry.
Yeah, pretty shitty. Let's talk about Tennessee real quick because I shit on Tennessee last week on last episode, and I still stand by what I said. But they do have a pretty favorable schedule, so I was getting some slack about it. I figured we should talk about it. Up until their bye week, they have what I would consider to be a pretty favorable schedule. They play New Orleans, the Chargers, the Browns, the Bengals, the Colts, and the Ravens. So that it starts out tough, but then after that it gets super easy. They got Falcons, Steelers, Bucks, Jags, Panthers, Colts. Fucking A. This is how they're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, because they get
Because they have an
Houston
easy
twice.
schedule.
Yeah, they get Houston and Jacksonville twice. They get Tampa Bay. Their toughest games are going to be Seattle and Miami.
This is bullshit, man.
Those are going to be their toughest games in the second half of the schedule.
They're going to
So
the
if
playoffs
they win-
with like a shitty fucking team.
if they beat Cleveland and New Orleans and lose to, the Chargers, Bengals, Colts, whatever, like they're going to go to the playoffs again.
They are, and they shouldn't. I'm just going to say it.
But they're going to.
That roster's fucking awful, but you're probably right.
They're going to go.
Vegas has their line at 7.5 games right now, and the money's on the under. So take that for what it's worth, Slaps.
I'm back, baby.
Man, I don't know. I think
What
it's favorable.
Vegas line was what? I'm sorry.
7.5 wins.
Yeah, I'd hit the over on that.
Oh, okay.
I'll do it.
Go do it. You'll make some money to make the playoffs. They are plus 240 as well. So just throwing that out there.
They find a way to do it. The Vrabes, he knows what he's doing. I'll ride it. I'll say they're going to go to the playoffs, and I'm going to say they're going to go over. They'll have over 8 wins. I think they will, unfortunately.
I think it's fair. I think for fantasy purposes, too, that second half of the season.
Yeah, but who are you touching besides Derrick Henry on that team? And maybe Traylon Burks.
And who knows?
I was thinking.
But who's their
Kyrie
quarterback?
I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, if you take out 4 guys in the NFL, like you could have that question for a lot of teams. Who's their quarterback?
That's fair.
If you're
But
drafting
right now-
anybody from the 49ers, who's their quarterback?
Well, it sounds of it.
Sam Darnold?
But I'd feel most confident about Brock Purdy. Like, if I was to pick, I really don't know with the Titans. I have no idea.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, the ball finds people. And these teams will put up points. For fantasy purposes, they will still score. They still have to roll the ball out there and play.
I don't know. It's gross. All right, we ready to move on to our quarterback conversation, fellas?
Let's do it.
I just have one more nug with the NFL schedules. The AFC East, obviously, we know that division is going to be super competitive, right? Or we're expecting that from the 4 teams there. But they play the NFC East as well. That's their crossover in their schedule. So it's literally going to be a gauntlet in the AFC East every fucking week. So just stay tuned.
That's going to be crazy. There's going to be fun games for us to watch, though. I think
just
now
can't
that
wait
they're
for
all going to be
football.
on freaking Peacock and
The cock.
Prime, the Cock and the Prime, and wherever
Sign
else,
me up.
fucking else they make me go.
All
But
right.
yeah.
Cool. Well, let's bust.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
All right, baby, let's talk about quarterbacks. So today we have brought a list of 6 quarterbacks, 2 of which were selected, as I mentioned, by our Twitter followers, all you dirty, nasty brainiacs. We put a poll out there, and we have our winners. It is Tua Tagovailoa and Derek Carr were the 2 winners on the Twitter poll, so we're going to be talking about them. But let's start out with Mr. Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, the man who can't stop riding. We're going to talk about him a little bit here. You buying him? You selling him? You holding him? Yeti, what are your thoughts on Russell Wilson, my friend?
All right. So last year, obviously, Russ had a season to forget. Probably the worst of his career. Finished as quarterback 16, which is, not terrible considering how bad that offense looked at times, right? But I think you can only go up from here. And with Sean Payton being the head coach / play caller, I think we're going to see some positive changes for Russ. I think we're going to see a run heavy approach, which is going to help Russ out quite a bit because they'll get him in play action throws. They'll get him in low or high completion throws, like little slant routes, little under routes to get him going. So I am buying Russ this year. Okay. I'm buying the dip.
You're buying the dip. It was funny. I also was doing my homework to prepare for this, and he finished as quarterback 16 this last year, which was something I was incredibly surprised about because you think about how terrible that offense is, like you mentioned, and I was like, I would have put him in I thought he'd hit the 20s easily. He also finished as quarterback 16 last year. So I understand why people are getting off the ride, right? There's a little bit of skepticism there. Russ has kind of fallen off the train a little bit. But I agree with you. I think I'm going to ride with him. I think he, as you mentioned, Sean Payton had his choice to go anywhere. Sean Payton could have gone, and I don't want to say anywhere, but there was a couple teams that were very interested in getting Sean Payton, Cardinals included. And he chose to go to the Broncos. And I think that he is going to clean that up. I think there was a lot of distractions last year for Russell Wilson. Obviously, he had 8 parking spots in his own office. And I think Sierra was coaching the offense. There was a lot going on there. And Sean Payton came in. I think he straightened him out a little bit. I'm going to ask you this, Yeti. If you needed a quarterback in a super flex league, would you spend the 202? If you had the 202 and you needed a quarterback, would you spend it on Russell Wilson right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the 202, you're probably getting Levis. So I think I would rather have Russ than Levis at this point.
Yeah, I agree. That's just I pulled up keep trade cut. I know a lot of people hate that. I know some people love it and live by it. I don't do either. I think it's a decent metric just to kind of have a bearing, but that's on keep trade cut. That's where Russell Wilson is going, is right around the 202. And I honestly, like you said, you would buy him for that. I would too. If you were looking for a usable quarterback too, easily the 202 there. So I'm good with that. And Alan, do you have any thoughts more to add on Russell Wilson?
I thought after the season ended, I thought there was no way he does that again. There's no way they are that bad again. And then adding Sean Payton, he has to be better. Mm-hmm. And inheriting a dynasty team that currently has Russell Wilson on that team, I want to keep him and hope that he does well. But I think that it was such a fun thing to pile on. I think next year you'll see an adjustment. I don't think he finishes much higher above 16, but I think you'll see a lot more consistency, which I think will be the key.
Yeah. And I, like you said, I think that will 100% be the key in getting some players involved, because it really was, throw it up there and hope to God Jerry Jeudy will catch the dang thing.
Yeah, we had 5 straight episodes where we talked about who scores the one touchdown that Denver's going to score. So it's got to be better than that.
Let me ask you guys this. Would you guys, for redraft purposes, would you guys rather have Anthony Richardson or Geno Smith or Russell Wilson?
Geno Smith.
Geno, yeah.
I would take Geno on that.
Mainly because of the weapons, but
okay. Because currently in best ball drafts, obviously we're in May, so things are going to change. But Russ is going as the 17th quarterback off the board, just after Geno Smith, and then right before Anthony Richardson.
Geno Smith is going that late?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because Geno Smith, if everybody stays healthy in that offense, he could be a top 10 quarterback this year, in my opinion. For redraft format, yeah, I'm definitely interested in Geno. I think that he's by and large the best one on this list, and so I would roll with him as well. Would you choose Geno, Yeti?
I'd probably go Russ, just
go
because
Russ?
there's too many mouths to feed in Seattle. I think they're a run heavy offense. You saw Geno Smith kind of taper down in the second half of the season because I think teams finally got tape on him and they understood what was going on in that offense. So I think we kind of saw his peak.
Okay. We'll see. I mean, he didn't write back. So, talking about running quarterbacks, Daniel Jones is next on our list here for a buy-sell candidate. Danny Dimes, baby. He finished as quarterback 9 last year. Yeti or Alan. Alan, do you have anything to add, or would you like Yeti to start this one?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. Yeti, what are you thinking about Danny Dimes?
I'm selling him.
You're selling Daniel Dimes.
Danny Dimes in Dynasty
Son of a
leagues.
bitch.
Like you said, Danny Dimes, he finished as a quarterback 9 last season. And obviously there might be something there with Brian Dable. Brian Dable is the reason why Daniel Jones was so successful last year, because we've seen Daniel Jones in other offenses. Daniel Jones looked like he was on his way out of the league or out of New York. Let's be honest. Dable came in, saved his career. And I think we saw the peak of Daniel Jones last year of what he can do in that offense. And I'm not shitting on Dable or Danny Dimes because I like them. Obviously, they are great fantasy pieces. I would love to have them for redraft purposes, but right now the price on Danny Dimes is way too high. And after 1 year, I'm out. Yeah,
it's a mid first. I don't know. So here's the thing, because I've seen a lot of people talking a lot of shit. A lot of Giants fans are pretty pissed off about the signing, and I've seen a lot of people who aren't Giants fans that are just laughing hysterically. And they're like, they so overpaid for Daniel Jones. Did they? I mean, do you really think they did? Because let's look at this for just a moment. We earlier in the episode we talked about quarterbacks and how all of them are getting paid. And I am not going to sit here and tell you I think Daniel Jones is better than Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Lamar or any of those guys, but I still think he's certainly usable. And if you look at the quarterback market right now, did he get overpaid or did he get paid because other teams need quarterbacks bad enough that they wanted to keep him around? I mean, what are you guys thinking on that end?
I think their hand was forced based on how well he played toward the end, that they had to pay him. I agree with Yeti. 100%. I'm selling because I don't think he can replicate what happened last year. And as good as it still wasn't like amazing. It was just better than the shit show he was doing right before that. So it's like on the backdrop of him shitting the bed all the time, it was, oh, now he's actually playing well. He's not turning the ball over, which I think is the key stat when you want to look at what Dable was able to have with him. He just wasn't turning the ball over, and he was making the right reads and he was using his legs. Yeah, like that. I mean, that's what he was doing. And from a Giants point of view, I think when you look at their team, you do want some stability. I think they probably don't believe he's the quarterback forever, but he's good enough right now. And I think that's what they paid for. And what they gave him was, you're good enough right now to keep your job. So we got to pay you what the market bears. But other than that, I think the only thing it hosed was really the contract negotiation from Saquon. I think just
so you're also selling.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to buy, gentlemen. I'm going to buy for a mid first round. We'll say mid first round, a fifth or sixth pick this year. I think I'm going to buy Daniel Jones if I was to need a quarterback. I think that is certainly a fair market value for him because he did finish his quarterback 9 last year. More often than more than anything else, I think I'm buying Brian Dable. I think that's really what I'm buying into. I'm buying into him and his coaching ability. We've seen what he did with Josh Allen, and we've seen Josh Allen without Brian Dable, and he did not look the same as he was when Brian Dable was there. Dable's a good coach. I would probably argue Dable's a top 5 NFL coach just in what he's able to do. Look how far this Giants team went with nothing. And I'm not going to say Jalen Hyatt, their new wide receiver that they drafted, I'm not going to say he's the answer. But they do have a little bit more pass-catching weapons. They got Darren Waller in there as well. I think I'd pay that for a quarterback that has the rushing upside there for fantasy purposes. That intrigues me enough to want me to hit the buy button. If I was looking for a quarterback at the 106, I'd consider that. Because he's going to be there for a little while too. Like he just got his contract re-signed. So that if you're going to buy him, you have him for a little while. And then you can hopefully get some rushing upside there for fantasy usage, which we saw last year. So,
And, I think it's important to note that, while you guys were talking about rushing upside, I remember that Daniel Jones, he has neck issues. He missed a few games, I think not last season, but the year prior, because he was having a lot of neck issues, a lot of shoulder issues. If he's going to be rushing a lot more after, after last season, he takes one wrong hit and he might be out. Like we've seen how fragile he can be prior to Dable coming into the offense. And like I said, after one season, I get all the hype. I love Dable. Danny Dimes is good for that offense, but I want to see it more. I want to see more of it and see it consistently.
Okay, well, speaking of more, what about Deshaun Watson? He's next on our list here, and he's somebody that we all know what Deshaun Watson's done off the field. We all know the story that is Deshaun Watson, so I don't think we need to go down that rabbit hole. But my point is, we haven't seen him on the field, right? We didn't see him on the field until week 10 of last year. So I ran the metrics starting in week 10. So if you take from week 10 to the end of the season last year, Deshaun Watson finished as quarterback 23. It's fucking horrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's a huge eyesore for the Browns. I mean, you think about it. The Browns paid a lot to get this guy.
A lot of money.
They paid a lot of money to go and get Deshaun Watson. I think there's some hope. I think there's a little bit of hope. I think you have to have a little bit of hope. I mean, he was 2 years removed from football before this for everything that happened off the field. So he hasn't played football in 2 years. And then he comes back midway through the season last year. And I've said this before on this podcast before. Defenses are already primed. Defenses are already ready. This is not week one for all defenses. They're in the heart of the season. They're playing good ball. And then you throw your quarterback who hasn't played football in 2 years into the mix. I think, yeah, you're probably going to have a pretty shitty start of things. Right? I think there's some hype there. There's a reason to believe, rather. And so I'm not counting last year. I think it was good reps for him to maybe get warmed up again. But I think this is a big year for Watson, I think. And we've seen him every year that he was on the field previous to this. He was in the top 10 for fantasy. He was a top 10, top 6, I want to say, fantasy quarterback every year that he was in the league.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing? Are you buying or are you selling Deshaun Watson?
I'm a buy off of intrigue for the.
Okay. He's going as an early first rounder next year. So I want to state that on Keep Trade Cut, an early first rounder next year. Would you buy that?
Off intrigue and upside because he's still young. The same draft class as Mahomes. He sat for a while. It's not like he sat because he tore both, he blew both of his knees out and he can't move. Like that would be different. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league up until he frequented way too many massage parlors. And
happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I mean, he got caught up in the storm, as we all do. You pay for the extras.
He made the storm.
I think if you're desperate, like you don't have a quarterback, I think there's enough upside there and intrigue because of who he was. But again, it would just be kind of your situation. Like if you don't have a quarterback at all, you have absolutely nothing. I think it's worth a flyer just because of what he has been and what he could be. I don't know the Browns are going to be. That's the other question mark. Like he's in Cleveland.
They added Elijah Moore. They've got Amari Cooper. They have Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Nick Chubb is still there.
So and that's the thing. You got Chubb, and they were like feeding him. So I would buy him off of intrigue because I know what he could be, and he was only sitting because of mistakes rather than he was hurt. And I think with a full off season with the team, getting that rhythm, it's tough when the team's already in rhythm and you're trying to like catch up to a moving train. So
absolutely,
I would. That's just me, but it would be dependent on what your current quarterback makeup was.
Yeti?
Let me ask you guys this. Would you rather have Daniel Jones or Deshaun Watson?
I'd rather have Deshaun Watson if I was to choose. I think there's, if I was spending my first round pick and I got to choose between Daniel Jones or Deshaun Watson, it's going to be Watson for me. Because for a few reasons. He's done it before. We've seen what he's done before. Granted, he had DeAndre Hopkins for a lot of that, and when you have a star receiver like that, it probably makes things a little bit easier, but he's got a better cast around him. And I think that makes a monumental difference for him. I mean, Amari Cooper, I think DeAndre Hopkins is still a better wide receiver, but Amari Cooper's still a very good wide receiver. At least at the end of last year, he hadn't lost his step yet. He was still very usable. He's got that. Elijah Moore, we didn't really see him as much as we probably hope with the Jets, but we know that he is a talent, and I think he's worth probably like. And then you have Nick Chubb. The offense is there. And that's what makes me want to believe in Deshaun Watson more, as well as the fact paired with that we have seen him do it before. Daniel Dimes, he hit quarterback 9 last year. That was the first time he's ever cracked the top 10. Granted, he's younger, but Watson was doing it his entire career previous to this.
I would say the similar Browns team was a, 4th down conversion away from Chad Henne completing to knocking out the Chiefs with Baker Mayfield.
Gross.
And so that's kind of where they were, and I feel like a lot of that core is still there, so I'm intrigued. But it's one of the shit thing about sports, man. We all played sports. You don't know. It's not played on paper. It's the same thing when the Eagles, signed Vic and got all those free agents in the offseason and everything looked like it was snowballing. Even this year for the Eagles, like, you just don't know what that team is going to roll out and look like. It's tough, and that's why you play the freaking games. So I would say on paper it's super intriguing, but I think the core of that team knows how to win. Like, I think they know what they're doing, and it's just if Deshaun can return to like 85% of what he was formerly, I think it's totally worth it.
And I think even if I'm getting an 85% Deshaun Watson, I'm taking that over Daniel Jones, especially with the first round pick. Like Deshaun Watson, when he was in his prime, he was an MVP candidate, right? The dude looked unstoppable for the 3 years that he was really involved with Houston's offense. And I mean, I don't want to keep on harping on it, but like you guys alluded to, he missed, or, the 6 games that he played last season. Those were kind of just warm up games, in my opinion. I didn't put too much stock in it. He was off for 2 years. Like, come on. What do you expect?
Well, even before that, those 6 games, he couldn't be with the team.
Exactly.
So it's not like he was getting
practice with them
secret
either.
reps, like, okay, now we're all, gelling. He was gelling with week prep, with guys out with injury, coming in, trying to figure out, like I said, that moving train. So yeah, right with Yeti.
Okay, so we're all buying Deshaun Watson. Let's talk about Desmond Ridder, quarterback for the Falcons. I think there's a group consensus that Ridder is overall, his value is pretty low. Nobody's smashing the buy on him, perhaps. There's a lot of, if Scotty was here, there would be a lot of negativity and hatred coming out of his mouth right now, but he's not here. So
I was getting ready to do
it. He was named the quarterback for the Falcons this year after his finale last year. He started the last 4 games of the 2022 season. He was drafted in the 3rd round by the Falcons, being a rookie last year. I'm optimistic, but I'm curious as to your thoughts, Yeti.
I'm not buying or selling.
You're holding them.
Yeah, you're just holding on to them if you have them, and if you don't have them, great. You're in a good spot. And I say that because you look at Atlanta's roster, they just added Bijan Robinson to an already run-heavy offense.
Are you looking at my notes? I just got to, are you like,
No.
You got a little secret spyware on my computer and you're just staring at my
that
notes
flag
here?
behind you, it actually has a camera.
There's a
in it. Sorry,
camera
buddy.
in it. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
But you're looking at an offense that ran the ball 59% of the time last year, and they added Bijan. They're going to continue to pound the rock. That's what this Atlanta Falcons offense is. And they just don't have enough passing volume in this offense to make me want to buy Ridder or to even sell him, because you're not going to get fair value for him if you truly believe in him. I mean, you could argue that you're going to get rushing touchdowns from him, but we didn't see that last year. We didn't see a lot of the quarterback run game involved. So at this point, I'm staying away.
Okay. He's going at the 205 right now. Is kind of where his value is at. I think that's actually like right on par for kind of where I would put him at. Like, I think that's, and I'm not saying this because it came from Keep Trade. I'm saying it because if I had the 205 and I'm looking for a quarterback, obviously you're not going to get any of the rookies this year, right? Like, that's just not going to happen. But if I was looking for a what if dart throw, I think, yeah, the 205, I'd probably do that. I'd probably buy him. I wouldn't buy him for much more than that because of everything that you just mentioned. But I think if hold was an option, then yes, I absolutely agree with you. That is exactly what I would say. I do have him in a dynasty format. I'm not interested in selling him because I know that his value is not going to be great.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, it's not. His value, just like Yeti said, his value is not great. But what if, what if he actually does something, because there are a lot of weapons on this offense. You've got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London.
Maybe.
They're young. They're a young, very talented group. They just need a damn quarterback to be able to at least throw the ball, because Mariota was not it. Matt Ryan was also not it, and they didn't have another wide receiver. So I'd rather ride on the potential of the offense and just hold Drake London and see, like, maybe he comes to fruition. Maybe he can be something, but I'm not holding out my breath for it either.
Yeah. I think part of this exercise, which is healthy in a lot of things, is imagining what good looks like for him. So what does good look like for Desmond Ridder? Like, what would a good stat line, if you rolled up the box score after a game, like 189 and a couple touchdowns in the red zone?
I was going to say like 207 and like two touchdowns.
Like he's going to, so I think good enough for him is going to be right around that 200 mark and maybe throwing for a couple. And I think that's doable if they're run heavy and teams start stacking the box. The question is, can he deliver on time, right? Like, that's what we all don't know. We just don't know. And I think that's absolutely right. Like, you wait and see if he can get to that 200, average on a game and throwing a touchdown, maybe two. And the biggest kicker of them all, which is hard for young quarterbacks, is not turn the fucking ball over. So if he can do those things, it'll be totally worth it to keep him, because then you kind of have a good base layer. But if he starts fucking up, turning the ball over, not hitting open receivers, then it's just immediate, like, what you have right in your hands.
I mean, you got to be disheartened as a Kyle Pitts owner. Is that fair? I mean, Scotty's not here. I think Scotty has
turning into a Kyle Pitts discussion, huh?
Well, just I don't want to like
all roads lead back to Kyle Pitts.
Like, I think Scotty has Kyle Pitts' face tattooed on his back. Did you? Oh God,
nice.
I mean, there's just been a lot of Kyle Pitts believers, and I think that's why I kind of want to talk about it just very briefly, because there have been so many people that bought Kyle Pitts high, and they have held him for so long in the hope that he's going to come to fruition. You got to be pretty pessimistic, right? I mean, like, if you were a Kyle Pitts owner, would you be pretty disheartened to see Ridder?
I think this,
especially with Bijan coming in there.
Well, see, this is where I'm interested, because if they're not stupid and they use Bijan appropriately, like, he's going to get, those running backs are going to get a majority of the work. What's going to be interesting is if they start doing more play action and they start hitting him in the seams or behind their linebackers as they suck up. Like, that's what you're going to want to see. Can Desmond Ridder hit Kyle Pitts behind the linebackers for meaningful yardage in meaningful situations and keep moving the sticks? That is kind of what's going to be interesting. And I think Pitts is good enough to make that happen for him. But again, we haven't seen it yet. Not that, it wasn't really given that opportunity. I think all last year you were calling for Ridder to get into the games, and it wasn't until way later that it actually happened. But I'm optimistic that it can still happen. It just sucks that there are a lot of good weapons being kind of wasted on, maybe this guy can do it, maybe not. Like, and I would lean towards he's probably not going to do it at this point in time, but he has the weapons to rise above his like current level. Like, they can make him look better than he is. And I think that's what's up. I think that's what you have to look at.
I want to see Kyle Pitts donkey stomp a safety straight into the ground. Boom. That'd be great. Speaking of people getting donkey stomped, Tua has been donkey stomped a couple times last year. He finished his quarterback 15 on the year last year. Tua scares me, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. Tua is a very scary own for me. He has an explosive group around him. I think that's very, very evident. When you have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, who are both wide receiver ones, we saw a huge improvement from Tua from a fantasy football production from every year previously. The only issue that kept him out of the game was he has a ticking time bomb on him, and it's his brain. And that scares me. Like, it does. He's had 2 concussions last year, which is the donkey stomp I was referring to. And the media has kind of been speculating, like, what if he retires? What if because of these concussions he goes out? Which is a completely fair thing to have a conversation about, because we were doing it.
About it.
We were doing no, and I was going to say, Tua even stated himself, like, his family, and he sat down with his family and medical professionals, and they had those conversations. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that is the case. So my take, I think he's one hit away. I think he is one wrong hit away from potentially his NFL career being over. And that really scares me. And if I own Tua, I think I would look at it as I'm holding a time bomb. Right now, Tua is going for the 104, 105, right around that area. I would move him if I could afford to right now. Because I would, like, I just think, and that's the game you play, right? Like, you're holding a bomb that you think could go off, or the fuse could be really fucking long, and you could get a whole season. You could get 3 whole seasons of production out of him, and he might be totally fine going forward. But what if he's not? And I just think we're one concussion away from potentially his value drops to nothing. He's done, and then you don't have a quarterback. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what are you guys thinking?
Same. No go on Tua for me. He also in the offseason said he learned how to fall so that he wasn't slamming his head into the ground when he got tackled, which is super interesting. Right now it's a mind, like literally a mind game for him, like physically a mind game. And then also within his brain is a mind game. Like what is he going to deliver on? And that's what scares me most, I would say, about this whole offense is that if he gets hit wrong, he was literally doing fucking gang signs, in Cincinnati, laying on the ground. Like he was
scary, man.
If I saw myself do that, I don't know how I'd react. And that's kind of how the rest of the season kind of played out. You didn't see that same attack mode that he was kind of in. That worries me. Like, and that's one of those things, like it's gambling and I'm not going to bet on it.
I agree 100%. Obviously concussions are a huge concern, but also his mobility, right? He's not going to be willing to stand in the pocket as much and take those hits, but to begin with, he was never a mobile quarterback. He was never going to run and, go get you 20 yards real quick. So I just have too many concerns about him and his health. So if I have him, I'm going to try to sell, but I think all dynasty players right now are kind of in the same mindset of, I'm not paying a fucking first for him.
No way.
No, but like in that's where per keep trade cut where his value is at. Now, if I own Tua, I would be trying to sell him. But if you said, "Yeah, I'll sell you Tua for the 105," I would be like, "I'm out." Like I would not be interested in that, especially given depending upon how the first couple picks go, you could still potentially snag a rookie quarterback at the 105 if you were really that desperate for a quarterback. So yeah, I don't,
especially next year.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's going to be a lot of quarterbacks available that you could, roll the dice
potentially
on to see where they end up. Yeah.
As Yeti had mentioned earlier, there's going to be some potential vacancies at a lot of quarterback rooms going into next season. So there's kind of a lull, and like there's the really good quarterbacks, and then there's like we really haven't seen much. Let's see what's going on, and then there's just like a wasteland that's about to happen at the quarterback market. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty interesting. Last quarterback today, Yeti. Your past lover.
My ex, man.
Your ex. You left him on red.
Derek he didn't write me back.
Yep. He didn't write you back, baby.
Yeti knows my answer. I tried to buy this motherfucker. I tried to buy him. I tried to get him.
You're all on the buy train. You're buying Derek Carr.
Oh yeah, 100%. I wanted him. I wanted him really bad because I think he's motivated. He's motivated.
Yeah, it was funny. You both texted me independently of each other and were like, "Hey, what do you think about this trade?" And I was like, "Man," I could really screw one of these two over and just be like, "No, you're totally over," and like just kind of get in somebody's head. And I was like, that would be really messed up. So I'm gonna let them both know that they both texted me here. If somebody asked me a question,
you weren't the only person I texted.
That's probably good.
Yeah, I like to get a lot of opinions as I go.
No, I get it, and. I talk with so we're in a dynasty league, of course, and I talk with a lot of the league internally. They'll message me about, like, hey, I'm doing this potential trade. What do you think? And I'm like, I'll tell them the honest answer. Like, I wouldn't do this or I would do this, but I'm not going to go digging and be like, yo, I heard there's a trade going on. What's going on here? Or like trying to leverage it. Like, I'm not about that. But it was really funny because you both texted me like right at one after the other. And I was just like, oh, man, like I'm just going to let them both know. If you ask me a question, I will be completely honest, but I am not going to say you should do this, or this, like because we're getting in murky waters. But yeah, I knew you were pretty interested in Derek Carr there, Alan. He's a buy for you, it sounds like.
Yep, 100%. I don't think he was the problem in Vegas. I think that was more of just like posturing by the team to say we're moving on. We want better for our fans, which whatever, good for you. You got Garoppolo now. I just think Derek Carr is motivated in a division that is ripe for the taking, and I think he's going to be able to make a lot of plays with that offense. I think they're going to take care of him. I'm interested to see. I think he's going to be in full attack mode, and that's kind of why I want him. Just because, like, I feel like he wants to give the middle finger to the Raiders, and
Okay.
I would
Okay.
buy that all day.
Yeah, are you buying your X here?
Yeah, I'm buying him, man. Like Alan said, he's going to be coming into the season motivated, and he's going into a much better situation in New Orleans than he had in Vegas, in my opinion. You look at the Saints team overall, they have a great defense, so he's not going to be on the field as much. They are a run-heavy team that's looking to do play action, which is where Derek Carr has had success, is in play action bootlegs. And he's also found his arm in the past couple of seasons. You know, he's been throwing bombs, because I used to call him the check down king when he first started with the Raiders. But recently he's fallen in love with the deep ball, which is great for guys like Olave in that offense. So I think Carr is in a very good situation this year. I'm buying. He finished as a quarterback 17 last year, and I think he could be flirting with like low end QB1 this year with New Orleans.
Interesting. You guys are interesting.
What, do you not like Derek?
No, I don't. I'm selling
Hater.
Derek Carr. I'm selling Derek Carr. No, I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater. I maybe I am a hater. Maybe I am. I might be a hater. I don't know.
What's the eyeliner?
I think that's what it is. It might be partially. I'm like, what's going on in those eyes? And then I just feel like I'm staring at his soul. He did finish as the quarterback 17 last year. Okay. I don't think things have improved as much for Carr as we want to sit here and say that they have. And the reason being, I actually went and looked this up. The best fantasy season that Derek Carr has ever had was in 2016. He finished as quarterback 10. Other than that, he's floated around the mid-teens, anywhere from 13 to 17, right? So he's like fringe quarterback 2. And I think that's the best he will ever be. I don't think he will crack the top 10. I don't think he will I think maybe at best I'd put him at maybe 13 or 14, to be honest with you. He's on a worse offense. In my opinion, he is on a worse offense. You have Devontae Adams, arguably the best route runner in the NFL. Now, yes, the coaching situation, I'm not trying to dog on the Raiders. The coaching situation was shitty. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But as far as the weapons on the field and the people, the talent surrounding him, I think that the Raiders were better off. I think Michael Thomas is washed. I think Michael Thomas, I do not think he is the Michael Thomas of old. I think he was a really great wide receiver. He struggled to stay healthy, and he's getting older, and I just don't see him regaining a step. Chris Olave is somebody I am excited about. And to be honest with you, I would definitely be interested in buying Chris Olave. But I'm not interested in buying Derek Carr. I think this offense is worse. On Keep Trade Cut, Derek Carr is going for the 201 right now. I don't think that's terrible value. I will say that. Like, if you are looking for a quarterback 2 at the 201, if I had Derek Carr as like my third quarterback and I really didn't need him, yeah, I'd probably move him. I probably would definitely consider moving Derek Carr for that 201, but I don't need him. I have a lot of quarterbacks, and at the 201, I would not be interested in buying him. Somebody like Jonathan Mingo is still there, and I'm interested for the opportunity that he has on the field versus me getting a quarterback that could potentially finish as quarterback 17 again, because the weapons are not there. Alvin Kamara could go to jail tomorrow. And then he doesn't have his check. I mean, that's a serious thing that could happen.
I know. He's not going to go to jail.
The Saints are in cap hell, so they don't have a lot of talent other than Chris Olave, and potentially their running back if he still is around. And then you have Michael Thomas, who's a dusty old man that can't stay healthy. So, like,
Taysom Hill. You forgot about Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill does everything. He'll probably spell Derek Carr a couple times when Derek Carr gets tired, and he'll go out there and play quarterback, and then he'll decide he wants to run it, and then he'll play tight end for a couple. He does it all.
I think the variable of it all is that he's out of the AFC West. He's not going to have to try to play against these teams that are of an upper echelon. And that's why I said, like, the division he's going in, I think is going to make it really attractive, because I think his defense will give him more opportunities to just convert easy points, where I don't think previously that was afforded to him very often at all. And he was playing a lot of catch up and having to do a lot of stuff, but it's fucking gambling.
It is.
I just think I think this is going to be the fuck you year for him, and I expect him to go big.
He also signed a 3-year deal with the Saints, so we know he's not their guy of the future. I don't think that's not anything crazy to say. I don't think he's the guy of their future. I don't know if you guys disagree with me, and I think a lot of it probably hedges on how he plays this year.
He'll be 35 when that contract ends.
I don't see. I mean, like, especially
he's going to make a return to Vegas and finish his career there. It's going to be a whole story arc. I saw
it's going to be
already.
Bygones be bygones. He comes back.
Yeah,
he parks the car back in the garage. I will say this though. I'm going to pay him a compliment. He's going to look fucking awesome in the Saints uniform. That is a great
it's just
fit.
Like the
color
Raiders,
scheme wise.
Except it's not silver, it's gold.
Yeah, he's going to look good there. Like the eyeliner's really going to go well with those the gold accents on the uniform, I think. So that's my compliment for Derek Carr. And that's it, fellas. That's all that we have for quarterback talk today. But we're not done. This episode is not over because we have questions to answer from the Brainiacs who sent it in on Twitter. So we greatly appreciate each and every one of your questions. Let's answer some mail.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me wanna wag my tail. When it comes, I wanna wail. Mail!
Is there a delay there, or was that on time? I haven't done one in so long. Was it
That
perfect?
was really good.
Yeah.
God, it felt
Nice,
good.
man.
I haven't done it in so long. I was like, we need to do some questions.
You were ready. You
Thank
were
you.
primed and ready.
Thank you. I missed it. But I'm excited. I'm excited to answer some of these questions here. So the first question comes from Angry Beaver 7 over on Reddit. We appreciate the question. He asked, "Can I drop Malik Willis and Zach Wilson? Alan, can he drop them off of his dynasty team?"
Yep. Next question.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think he can. There is no reason to be rostering
Willis
these guys.
might not even be on the team.
Yeah, he might.
heard.
Yeah.
We've seen Wilson. I don't know what you expect to get out of him. You're not. There's literally no value anywhere. Not trading, not starting, not doing anything. They're just a black hole for your roster.
Yeah.
I feel.
Cut him. I'd rather own some handcuff running backs than those guys.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
get them out of there. They're roster cloggers. Next question comes from Sean Gogolin. I apologize if I butchered that. He said, aside from Mahomes and Kelsey, are there any catcher/quarterback combos that you feel are a must stack? Yeti.
Yeah, I thought of 5 right away.
Damn.
You have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Those guys are going to be top 5, each year. Joey B and Jamar Chase.
Jamarius, baby.
You have Tua and Tyreek. You have Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. And then you have Dak and CeeDee Lamb. I think all 5 of those combinations are top 10.
You don't want to do
purposes.
Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen?
No.
I was going to say Herbert, but
But the
Herbert
problem
and
is
who?
Yeah, I was going to say
Herbert.
Quentin Johnston, maybe. We'll see. Like the wide receivers are struggling to stay healthy.
Check
Not
down
yet.
to Eckler.
Yeah.
Eckler. Yep. There
Justin
you go.
Herbert
That's a good
and
combo.
The Herbert
That's a good
Eckler stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you I'm trying to think of if you missed anybody that I would be interested in.
Okay, would you replace any of those with like Cousins and Jefferson?
Cousins is sneaky. I actually
that is
I have a
sneaky,
lot of
yeah.
respect for Cousins. He's one of those guys that I definitely am probably, we'll see where his ADP falls this year, but he's certainly someone I'm looking at targeting in redraft formats because he's one of those guys who's not super flashy. He's not going to get you a lot of points on the ground, but what he will do is he will sling the ball, and he does it with great efficiency because he's got Justin Jefferson, and he now has another weapon to play with as well in that offense. So yeah, Kirk Cousins I would definitely be interested in as an own with Jefferson. I'll put them in that category.
Yeah. I think that's a feast or famine stack. I think you're either going to get like 60 points from them, or you might get like 12
20
sometimes.
Yeah,
like
the best.
I think it's just kind of whatever Kirk does, but I think that's an interesting. I think especially if you have Jefferson, I think it would be an interesting late flyer if you're on a redraft to pick up.
Yeah,
Kirk.
because Kirk's not going to go like a third round like a Josh Allen or someone like that.
No.
Let me ask a question off of this question. Who's in the next tier of stack for you guys? Guys I could possibly, be top 10 any given week, whether they're a wide receiver or quarterback. I thought of Goff and Sun God.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't hate that one.
Fields
Do you
and
think-
Moore have potential.
What
Yes.
about Garoppolo and Adams?
Ugh. I don't know about Jimmy G. That's
No.
I don't
I'm
know,
out,
man.
Fuck Jim. It was funny at the draft. There was a Raiders fan standing next to us, and the Raiders picked, and he just started screaming. He was pissed, and I don't remember who you guys drafted. And I'm like, "You're not a fan of Jimmy G?" And he looks at me, and he goes, "We're not calling him that." He goes, I refuse to call him that. He goes, "Until he fucking does something for us, he's just Jim." I was like, "Damn, dude! Like this guy was
I don't know,
pissed.
Jim.
Yeah, he's like, he's just Jim Garoppolo," and I
Just
was like,
Jim.
"Yeah, take the Jimmy
Damn.
away. Take the Jimmy away."
Can't even call him Jimmy.
Yeah. I know. I'm not excited about that. What about Rodgers and Wilson?
Yeah, that was another
I was
one.
gonna.
I'd put that a tier below.
I'm interested in that. That one's that's gotta gel quick, man. And for
Yeah.
somebody like Rodgers that hates guys not knowing his system to mesh with guys really quickly, and I don't know. I'll like how quickly. Okay, let's set the over under at week 3 that Rodgers gets frustrated.
Oh yeah, I'll take the
under.
I'll take
Week
whatever
1
it
or
is that
2,
gets
you're
him
gonna
frustrated.
see.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be mad.
Yeah, I that'll be interesting. But I think there's just a lot of growing pains there with that schedule too. But I agree.
Yeah.
I like that. I like it though. Like if you have one, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to see it through. But I think Yeti kind of crushed it.
Okay, yeah, I think you did a great job.
Thanks, fellas.
Let's go. Golf claps for you. Well done. Next question here comes from the Big D himself, Aaron Big D Davis. His handle is Aaron D-Back Davis, but he's got a probably Big D. We gave him that nickname. The NFC South, he asks, who do you think is realistically winning that division, and who do you think could even be a sleeper for a wild card spot? I think they're going to cancel that division. I think that division of football is just going to be canceled. Is probably
it's
a
gonna get
realistic
relegated.
option. You look at the NFC South. Who do I think is going to win that division?
I think it's going to be the Saints.
It's got to be the Saints. It's got to be the Saints.
And that's why I wanted Derek Carr.
I think, yeah, but Derek, I like for fantasy football output. That's we're talking NFL to fantasy.
Oh,
like
I understand that, but I don't like. I mean, the Panthers defense isn't anything. The Bucs defense is going to take a step back. The Falcons defense, I don't know. I think there's opportunity. But anyways, that being said, I think it's going to be the Saints.
I think it's gonna be Saints. I think the Saints will probably.
Yeah, Vegas tends to agree with you guys here.
Do they?
They are the favorites by plus 120, and then Falcons are plus 250.
Damn, you should have let us wait because I was gonna see if I could guess the second one for the sleeper wild card that he asked here. And now I feel kind of biased because it was either the Falcons or the Bucs for me. I think if Kyle Trask can figure it out, the Bucs still have weapons. So the Falcons and the Bucs third, and is the line close between the Bucs and the Falcons, Yeti? Because the Panthers
Bucs are last, and
the
they
Bucs are
by a
below the
while.
Panthers.
Yeah, so it goes.
Yeah,
the
'cause they
Saints
got
are
Kyle
plus
Trask.
120, Falcons are plus
Baker
250,
Mayfield.
Panthers are plus 350, and the Bucs are plus 700.
Oh my god! Ah, my god! I think the Bucs are going to be better than the Panthers.
The Bucs are barely holding on with Tom Brady.
Yeah, they just gave up.
What? You think they're going to play hard for Kyle Trask?
Or Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, you think that's going to be the move for them? They're like, oh fuck yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah,
Tom
maybe
Brady.
not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I think Saints.
Okay.
Saints, Falcons. I think we'll just go the Vegas route. Sorry.
Okay. No, yeah, it was a little bit of a
We
cheap
just leaned
answer.
on Vegas.
I mean, we got the Saints before
We
we got the
googled
Vegas
your answer
lines.
for you, Aaron.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I think the Saints probably do win it, and then if I was to pick, yeah, it's got to be the Falcons. I think.
Yep.
I think I'll go with that as well. Next question comes from Come and Take Them, and I don't know what we're taking, but I'm coming. He asks, "What does Devontae, that I spelt wrong, Devontae Adams' message feel like? He wants management to make better moves, or is he setting himself to move on soon?" We've kind of talked about this before a little bit, but Yeti, as a Raiders homer, why don't you initially give us your thoughts here about Mr. Deontay Adams?
I had some questions regarding this question because Devontae Adams has put out 2 statements recently.
It's Deontay.
Yeah, Deontay. Sorry. There was one statement that came out saying that he doesn't need a quarterback to be an All-Pro or something like that, and he didn't go to Vegas just to be just to be with his friend.
Find out.
He came to Vegas to win a Super Bowl.
He came to go to strip clubs.
So I'm assuming we're going with that message, right? I don't know, but I'm going to assume we're going with that message. I think he's going to find out real fucking quick that there is a drop off from Jimmy G or Derek Carr to Jimmy G. And he's just not going to have a good time. Yeah, Jim. Yeah, fuck
Jim and
Jimmy
Deontay.
G.
Jim and Deontay just out there.
He's not going to be a Raider by the end of the year.
No, I agree with you. I don't think he will be. I think the Raiders. You know, if you weren't on the show today, I would probably dog on him a little bit more. But I am going to say this: I would hope that the Raiders are smart enough to recognize that the position that they're in halfway through the year and realize that they should probably move on from him. Now, I'm not going to accuse the Raiders of being super intelligent, but I would hope that that would be the case for you as their fan, because much like myself, my team is horrible. And when you love something, as we've discussed, you set it free. And that's what I want for DeAndre Hopkins. And I think the Raiders are kind of in a similar situation where, like, Devontae still you can get something for him because he is still talented. But I don't see the Raiders making the playoffs. I don't see the Raiders winning that division. And Jim is not the answer. So I hope that they would move on, and I hope that he goes on to greener pastures. So
yeah, and I mean, I'm a diehard Raiders fan, but I'll be the first to tell you we are not in a position to be a wild card, to be a playoff team, to win the AFC West. None of that shit. Like we need a hard rebuild. We have some pieces in place, right? But Devontae Adams, he's an aging wide receiver. Love him to death. I'd love to keep him, but if we can get a first round pick out of him, do that in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you do though.
Probably not.
Like maybe a second.
Yeah,
I could
even
see.
second round. I would be happy with, but we need to get some kind of value out of these guys while they have some.
You could play the game I always used to play as a Chiefs fan. Like, just please don't finish last. That was a fun game to play every year. Like,
my game is just beat Denver twice.
Yeah,
that's
just finish ahead of Russ. That's the goal.
Yeah,
that's a good goal. Good goal to set.
He is unlimited. All right, last question here comes from Godfather League, and I actually really love this question.
I like this one too.
I appreciate it. He says this one makes me think a little bit. He says, what coaching and or coordinator change will impact an NFL team the most? What has impacted their team the most? I've said it earlier, man.
Do you want to go?
Me?
Yeah, go. I want to hear yours.
I think Shane Steichen to the Colts is going to be a really, really fun watch. Boo. I think that's going to be a pretty big impact play. You don't agree?
No, that's an easy one.
No, it is a really easy one, but I think that's the one that comes to. That was the first one that came to my mind, so that's the one that I brought to the table. I think that John Gannon to the Cardinals will also impact the team and will still continue to be dog shit. So I could say that too. I just think I have a lot of respect for what Steichen has done with Jalen Hurts in building around him and improving him. So I think the Colts, they were in a really bad spot last year. Frank Reich kind of did not do a lot of things that I think we had hoped he would do. And then honestly, I was hoping Jeff Saturday was going to get the job just to see pure chaos ensue in that organization. But I think this was probably a really good hire for them to try and get their offense back on track. So I think this is going to be a really impactful hire for them, in my opinion.
It's good.
Are you going to say Eric Bieniemy? Is it Eric Bieniemy?
No.
Okay.
No, I think so. I dug in just a smidge, but I think this could also save Tua. And I think the Dolphins hiring Vic Fangio with the defense that they have in place right now, they have Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Bradley Chubb. They have pieces in place to be a good defense. And I think, which could be impactful for that whole division, is if the Dolphins defense then just has a chokehold on being like good luck scoring. It's going to be fucking difficult for you all year. And I think them hiring Vic could be the difference in them actually getting into the playoffs. I don't think they'll win the division, but I think that's what's going to get them if Tua can stay healthy and that defense can keep him healthy by giving him better opportunities and allowing that offense to not have to feel like Tua has to do everything for him. I think that could.
Is Mike White the quarterback now there? Backup there? Did they sign him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike and Skyler.
Okay. I like
Mike
that.
and Skyler.
Mike was good last year. I mean, I won't say he was like superb, but he was certainly usable. So,
but I think it's not sexy to say Vic Fangio, but I think him on that defense could be very powerful for them.
That's a good football answer. I like it. Big football guy.
Big football guy.
Thank
Yeti?
So as much as I hate shitting on the Chargers, I think them signing Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator was a very good hire for them. Last year, I mean, every year that Justin he was with the Cowboys. They so the Chargers let Joe Lombardi go, who had been with Herbert for the past 3 years. Passing has never been a problem for Herbert, right? He's thrown for over 4,500 yards in each of his 3 seasons. Last year, they were almost last in rushing offense. And they're getting a guy in Kellen Moore who has experience in different offenses. And we've seen him have success, obviously, with Dallas. We've seen what he can do with Dak, with CeeDee Lamb, with Zeke, Pollard, you name it. And I think his impact on Justin Herbert is going to be huge. And I think we see that offense take a step forward because of Kellen Moore. Like I said, that offense is elite in the passing game, but I think you're going to see even more explosion come out of that offense from the running game, which is going to open up more passing lanes.
So you say the running game, and I before we get off here and move on, I just briefly want to pick your brain on this. Austin Eckler, obviously, there's a lot of discussion going on with Austin Eckler. Do you think that if they were going to run the ball more, we might see more of a split backfield with Isaiah Spiller? We had kind of seen him get involved earlier last year, and there was some people were getting ready to hit the panic button on Austin Eckler. Kind of panned out at the end of the year, very obviously, as things progress. But up until that week 3, like, we saw that. Is that something you think we're going to see again this year?
Yeah. Eckler came out and said last year that was the plan. The plan was to reduce his workload in the early part of the season so he can be healthy towards the end of the season. And I think we're going to continue to see that. I think it only makes sense now that he's 28 years old. He wants to get more money. Like, he needs to heal himself, or not get as much volume right in the early part of the season when it doesn't matter as much. So I think whether it's Isaiah Spiller or whoever, I think we're going to see a lot of them early and often.
You think Eckler. does that make you a little bit more skeptical to want to draft him super early, or are you still hitting that buy button on him?
Fantasy playoffs are at the end of the season, baby. That's the only time I need him to score some TDs.
True that. All right.
I like that. Do you think hold on, one more. Do you think this is the year the Chargers win the AFC West?
No. You got to go through the Chiefs.
Every year it goes through Kansas City.
Year.
Man. I said that last year on the podcast too, when people were like, they lost Tyreek, Mahomes is going to take a step back. No, they still have Andy Reid. They still have Mahomes. They're fine.
Okay.
Got to go through Kansas City.
I would say even I was going to say unless Patrick Mahomes gets injured, but he also proved that doesn't
don't
matter.
Say that.
So.
Why would you say that out loud?
Yeah.
No, I was just not like to dog on him. I was giving him. I was paying him
episode. At the very
I was
end of the
paying
episode,
him homage. I was impressed with him.
Oh, I'm panicking now. Now I have anxiety. It's only May.
You know that we don't root for injuries here. We don't root for injuries here, at least on the podcast. There might be some witchery going on behind the scenes, but we'll leave it there. All right, gentlemen, this has been fun. This has been good, and now it's time to get the hell out. So we
are.
You
Damn it,
fuckers! Come on!
I was pointing at you. Is it me or you? We are out. Fuck.
Out.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you tune into our new releases every week on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out leatherbrains.com for all of your fantasy football needs. And remember, Brainiacs, a championship should be more than a fantasy.